Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm Rock. How about you?
Good, real good.
So tell me something good.
Um, had had six closings since last time we talked, which is nice. So, um,
That's very nice.
yeah, real nice. Including one that I was almost certain was not going to get there. So, but it closed yesterday, and thank goodness. So that's been good. And I've still got some good activity going, but I haven't gotten any other under contract since then.
So is that all of your pendings have now closed?
I've got two more, one next week and one the following week.
Okay, great. So first off, great job. Good. So now the idea here is how do we perpetuate this momentum, right? So if you remember
Right.
correctly, we've been working on how are you spending your time to make sure that we're getting the most efficient use of your time, because we got to remember that the kids and family are so important that we have to be laser focused when we're not with them, right?
Right.
That way, when something is happening with the kids, you're not taking a call.
Right. Right.
Okay. So would you agree with me that a schedule is less of a thing and more of a mindset?
1,000%, especially after the last 2 weeks. I mean,
Okay. What did you
absolutely.
learn over the last 2 weeks that set that up for you?
Like it, I've had so much success going on that it's now because I'm not on a schedule and because I'm not locked in, it has just been like I feel like my head's just been spinning the last 2 weeks, which is, I mean, it's
Chaos.
great to have exactly chaos, exactly. So
Okay.
um that is that's become very evident because it's just all, all the little things that pop up with every little, putting out fires and all that. They seem very big to me right now because it's really important to get those deals closed, right?
Sure.
And so they eat up a lot of time, and it's very easy for me to get off track and get locked into something that's reactive, right? That's not as important as I'm giving it space in my head. But
Hmm.
if I can figure
Okay.
that out.
So where do you think this comes from? Does this come from an abundance mind thinking or from a scarcity mind thinking?
Scarcity, 100%.
Okay, right, 100%, right? Because what we think is, and I'll just use this as an example. It's like a little think of candy at a table that I'm sitting at. An agent will get a transaction, right? And then what they do is they march along and they hold that little transaction because that might be one of just a handful. And if they know instinctively that if it doesn't close, it's going to suck, right? But what
Right.
happens, they get so obsessed with the one that they're disregarding all these other opportunities that show up for them. So, how do we start to think about that stuff differently so then we can make decisions on how we're going to spend our time most efficiently?
Yeah, and that's the question we need to figure
That's the
out, right?
rub, right? Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's why it's important for us, the work that we've spent understanding the value of why you are doing what you're doing, because now we're going to have to make some hard choices. So if it's okay with you, I'm going to go from a little bit of coaching to a little bit of teaching so you can at least can understand at least how I look at schedule, how I kind of run schedule, and how I've been coached. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So my day starts early like yours. And once I've got my morning going, right? Like do all the things I need to do, the meditation, the time with myself, the mentally prepping for the day, my cup of coffee, whatever you want to call it, right? Once I actually get now, I'm in work mode. I'm sitting in front of my computer. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the schedule and I'm going to lead generate. Now, we talked about lead generate versus lead follow up. So lead generation for me is whom am I speaking to who is new to me? So I'm going to give myself probably a good just 90 minutes. Then I'm going to do another, I'm going to, and because I've got ADD and I've seriously got ADD, HD actually. So I have a hard time sitting for any length of time. So I will literally do about 45 to 50 minutes of just straight through work. And then I take 10 to 15 minutes to get up, hit the bathroom, get another cup of coffee, get a glass of water, whatever I got to do to give my brain permission to kind of go woo. And then I come back again. Then I get right back on it again. And I'll do, if I give myself that 45 50 minutes. I'll get back on. Let's just say I start at 8:30. I'll get back on my calls at 9:30 ish, and then I'll do it another 30 minutes. Then from there, I think, okay, now I've generated new. And when I say generated new, I'm circle prospecting. I'm calling to communities where I don't know people. I'm, following up on people who may have indicated that they have interest in talking to me, but I've never met before. Following up on referrals that have been given with people I've never met before who are going to be coming into my world. The key thing is I've never met them before and we've never spoken before, right? New to me and I'm new to them. Then I go to lead follow-up. Now I follow a system that's called the 5, 10, 15. I go to my database and I have it sorted by the DT D2 schedule of, different alphabets. Are you familiar with the DT D2?
No.
Okay, what it is years ago, Tony DeCello, my friend and fishing partner and the best coach I've ever met in my entire life, figured out approximately how many people have last names by percentage that start with certain letters. So how many percentage of people start with an A in their last name, a B with their last name. And they took all that out. And then what they did is they married up two letters. And the two letters might be P and L. So the P and L approximately will have a similar percentage overall as do B and E. So what I do is I have my database sorted. Are you in the B and E category, the P and L, so I go through and I sorted them all based on this schedule. And then I just go into my database and say who's who, and it pulls them up through my contact tags. And then I do the database 2, which is DTD2, but I add 2 to it. So do the database 2 plus 2, and you'll hear about the plus 2 in a second. The database 2 is I pull them up in my database. So now I got 5, 10, 15. So I pick 5 new people from that list every day that I have not sent a text message to in the last 90 days. Because mind you, if I go weekly and I go like this week, just say it's P and L, like P and L, I reach out to them. I'm going to work on them for this week. And then next week, it might be B and E. And then the next week after that, it might be T and J, right? So I know if I go once a week to this bracket, if I go through the whole quarter, eventually I'm going to get through to everybody, or at least I'm going to be reaching out to them. So the first 5 will be 5 people that I didn't send text messages to yesterday. And the text message will be real simple. I'm going to go under their social media if I have it, and I'm going to look to see things that they commented about. And I might say, hey, Joe, I saw your new puppy on Facebook. What kind of puppy is it? And you're going to respond probably. And that's just 5, right? How long does that take? Or I can just do a general question like, hey, did you know that the rates have come down a little bit in the last 30 days? Again, I'm asking a question. Hey, Joe, how you been? Blank question. And the idea is engagement, just having a conversation. You might respond with, oh, it's a German Shepherd. And I'll say, oh, so cute. Did you get it from a breeder or did you get it from a rescue? Blah, blah, blah. And I might have 2 or 3 questions. Now, with only 5, there's a good chance that all 5 will likely respond by the end of the day. So now I've made 5 contacts. The next 10 are 10 on the phone or face-to-face. So on the days I do the pop buys, those 14 or 15 people will be included in my 10. And that day I might do 15 because that's how many people are on my list. And I'll start early and I'll go through the whole day. But that'll be at least 10. And the 10 is 10 voice-to-voice or face-to-face conversations. And it's going to be much the same thing. Hey, I saw you went to this restaurant, blah, 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 blah. How was it? Now, thinking in terms of relationship, do people want to speak to others who are always talking about business, or do they want to build friendships with them?
Build friendships.
Right. So when you call your friends, do you call and say, hey, did I tell you about the greatest thing of real estate lately? Or did you call and talk about stuff that you talk about with friends?
Right. Talk about stuff.
Right. So think like that. These are people you are bringing closer to you. So conversation about kids' graduations, parties, pets, health, all of those things. And then once you're done, and it's just 2 or 3, how are you? What's going on? I saw this, yada, yada. Then then the questions could be, well, how's work going for you? Now, think about this for just a second. When you ask how work is going for them, what is the likely response after they tell you how work is going for them?
How's work for you? Yeah.
Right. So does that give you an opening to say, oh, I just closed 6 in the last 2 weeks? Really? Yeah, I helped 6 families in their home buying and selling. What an experience. Mr. and Mrs. Smith were spectacular. They had 2 kids, 2 dogs, 3, 2, and 2, and they're so excited, and they just moved to this part of town. Oh, that's excellent. You don't even have to say gimme, 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 because you know what will happen is you're going to start stirring up those juices, right? So now you
Right.
have those conversations with 10 people. So you did the 5 texts. Now you're having 10. These aren't 10 voice messages. These are 10 actual conversations,
How
right?
do you treat voicemails? If you call somebody, leave a voicemail, do you mark that? Do you track that? Do you know what I mean?
I track it only because I want to know the percentage of the calls I make that result in a phone call conversation as opposed to just leaving a voicemail.
Gotcha.
And it's important for me to know that because I want to know how much time I need to spend.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yep.
So then I got 5, 10. Now the next part is the 15. I go into the social medias, pick one. My
Hmm.
demographic is Facebook and Instagram, not TikTok, but a lot of people do the TikTok thing. I don't. But my demographic of my client base is mostly Facebook, as are their adult children. I'm over 60. My clients are over 60. Their children are generally 55 plus. So I'm going to go where they're at. So I go
Yeah.
on again. If I've got their social media, I immediately go there. And
Okay.
what I do is I look to see something that they posted. I don't like it or love it or laugh at it. I actually make a comment that includes a question, very similar to all these other things I've been telling you. And you're just going to say, great restaurant, congratulations to so and so. This also helps you get embedded in their life. So, like if you see a wedding, send a gift card. If you see a child graduated from high school, what I a lot of times might do then is I might send a text message or a private message. I'll say something public, but then I'll say privately, I might say, hey, would you be offended if I send your child a congratulations on graduating and a gift card to Starbucks? The reason why I'm going to ask that is because I don't want to be a creeper, right?
Right.
So you're going to comment. So 5 text messages, 10 voice to voice, and 15 social media interactions. Because if you ask a question, it's going to be an engagement. And that's what you're looking for. And if you do this daily, that's 30 people every day you're speaking to, right? Yep, 30 people every day. Imagine how much business you would be generating in 6 months of doing this. So now let's say I started at 8:30 and I finish this up usually about 11:30, 12 o'clock. And I do take breaks. I've got ADD. I can't just sit still.
Right.
So then at noon, let's just call it that, I will take lunch. Now, I may have lunch in my home because my home office is where I work. I may take lunch there and I'm not going to do it at my desk. Why? Because I need the respite. I need my brain to rest.
Yeah.
Then I do a 30-minute, maybe 40. Now, if I go outside of the office, I always book an hour and a half because I'm spending time. And by the way, I'll do 2 or 3 of those a week, even if it's, hey, you brown bag, I'll brown bag, let's meet at the park. The
Right.
reason for that is I'm building deeper connection with some people,
Right.
like people who are my top, my advocates, the ones that I'm going to do the pop buys with. I might invite them to lunch or coffee or whatever. So now I do that. I take it away from the desk because I need the rest. Now, once I'm done with lunch, the very next thing that shows on my schedule is chaos, meaning I schedule chaos time. I know that this is going to be helpful for you because we mentioned earlier about all the little things that show up when you're pulling your deals together, right? All the little things that you need to deal with while you got listings. Oh, so and so didn't turn off the lights, blah, 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 blah. You need to call me and yada, yada. Well, if you have a plan for that, it doesn't interrupt the other stuff. So usually that's at the beginning. When you start getting used to it, just book 30 minutes to take calls during that time, make outgoing calls to solve the problems. You eventually might book it from, let's just say, 1 to 2 o'clock, and you're going to have an hour. And put it on your schedule. Literally, now I used to put on mine, believe it or not, mine used to say bullshit, not chaos, because all of that stuff for me is just BS. but I had to deal with it.
Yep.
So then after that, I have appointments throughout the day. And generally my appointments will be, if I go from 1 to 2 on this, I'm going to have an appointment that's going to be from 2:30 to 3:30. Now, I always book appointments for an hour. My listing appointments generally are 40 minutes, but I will go on it. I will schedule an appointment for an hour, mostly because I also need to give myself a little bit of time in between. So I will have on my schedule Monday through Friday, say, um, uh, um, 2:30 to 3:30, and then again 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock. And then once or twice during the week, I will have a late appointment available, and it'll be on my schedule. I used to do Wednesdays because it worked out really well with my kid because he had other stuff going that didn't include me on Wednesdays, and it worked out great. So I would do an appointment at 6 or 6:30 on Wednesdays. So now when somebody calls me and they say, "Hey, I'd love to get together with you," or I'm talking to them on the phone, "Hey, you wanted me to come over and talk to you about your house for sale?" And they say, "Yes." You say, "Great. What does your schedule look like next week? Are you good on Tuesday or Thursday?" "Oh, I'm good on Thursday." "Excellent. It looks like I have 2:30 or 4 o'clock available. Which works best for you?" "Oh, 4 o'clock," or whatever. Now I'm giving them the time that I'm available, right? So who's in control of the schedule? Me.
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
But now they may say, "Well, gosh, I don't even get home until 6 o'clock." Well, I can appreciate that. Let me ask you this. If I make the exception and I meet you in the later in the evening, are all parties are going to be there, right? Yeah. Well, it looks like I've got time open on Wednesday at 6 or 6:30. Which works best for you? Again, my control. I
Right.
can't do Wednesday. Great. Well, the next week I actually have Thursday open at that same time. Does that work for you? Yeah, let's do that. Again, I'm putting them on my schedule. I'm not going on their schedule, but they feel like they're in control. So
Right.
I have those on my schedule. Now, in between appointments or at the end of the day of my last appointment, I will add another 30 minutes of chaos time, dealing with the returned calls of people that need to be handled. Now, what I've discovered is everybody works at their own pace. So if I got my schedule, lead gen, lead follow up, have my lunch, deal with chaos, go on an appointment, deal with chaos, and maybe another appointment. With that being said, I have to explain to my clients how they're going to have to deal with me. And what I do is I'll sit down with them and we'll sign all the paperwork and everything. And I'll say, "Okay, so now that we got all this paperwork done, let's just put it aside right now. And what I'd like to do is explain to you a little bit more about how you're going to reach me and how we're going to communicate, because my intentions are to make this the best experience possible for you. Is that okay with you?" And they'll say, "Sure, great. So just want you to know," and I talk to them about offers. "When I get an offer, this is what I expect from you." I explain to them, we don't ever reject an offer. We only counter offers. We get multiple offers. This is how we're going to handle it. We get home inspections. This is what you can expect my responses are going to be. All of those things that I tell them how I work. Expectation, because later they might veer outside of that expectation. I've got to say,
Right.
remember this conversation? Now, in that conversation is, I just want you to know, if you call me between the hours of 8:30 and say 11:30, 12 o'clock, you're going to get my voicemail. And the reason for that is because I'm busy looking for buyers for my sellers and sellers for my buyers. Now, just leave me your name and your number, and I will call you back either between 1 and 2 or between 4 and 4:30, or whatever your timing is that you put on your schedule. "Well, that's hard to get a hold of you." No, it's actually easier because I've dedicated this time to speak with you. Can you see if it's on my schedule purposeful that you get the best chance to get me? You can either call me then or tell me which of those times that works best for you. Now, in order to make this work, one, you have to adhere to the schedule. So when you see a call coming in while you're doing all these other things, you don't do it. You just act like, when you're lead generating, you act like you got a seller sitting across the table from you. You're not going to go, "Wait 1 second, let me take this call." You're going to say, "I've
Right.
got this," right? So you treat it like that. If you were at the doctor with your kid, you're not going to answer the damn phone. So you treat it like that. You also set up your outgoing message, like an autoresponder with your email that says, "Hey, thanks a lot for reaching out during this time. I will respond to you between blank time and blank time, or between blank time and blank time. Let me know whether or not you want an email or a phone call." Your outgoing voice message should say, "You reached me during this time. I'm doing this, and I will return your call between this time and this time, or between this time, this time. Make sure you leave your name because I might not recognize your voice, and your phone number because I might not have it, and a little bit about why you need me. And I'll call you back, I promise. And you live by that. You also tell them, listen, I don't work on the weekends, or I work on Saturdays by appointment only. And I oftentimes will not return phone calls until Monday during the normal course of day of business. And you set that expectation, you live that expectation. Now, what do you think could happen to a person when you explain to them how you work like this? What do you think could be going through their brain?
I mean, the only negative thing would be thinking that you're too busy, right? But more
Okay.
positively, they think you're organized. They think that you're busy in a good way, that you know what you're doing, and that you're structured and that you're going to follow through with what you say you're going to do.
Especially if you do the actual follow through. If
Correct.
you live up to your schedule, they will begin to respect it. Now, here's the other thing that they could say, and I've had this happen. Well, Mitch, what if I have to call you and it's an emergency? Now, let's be real clear, there's no such thing as a real estate emergency.
Right.
Doesn't
Yeah.
exist. But they don't understand that, right? Their thing is it's important, so it's an emergency. So my response is always, I could so appreciate that. But let me ask you this, Joe. What should be so much of an emergency or so important that I should stop doing the very thing that you hired me to do? And I don't say anything after that.
Yeah.
And they look at me and they go, well, I guess you're right. Yeah, there's really not that important because I want you to sell my house. Exactly, right? So if that's the case, and it's important that I keep that up, what would be an emergency? You think you'd have to call me. Now, occasionally they say, well, what if my house is on fire? I'm like, I'm not a fireman. I'm not the guy that's going to put out your fire. You need to call 911. When the dust is settled and the ash is floating around and the fire's out, you call me then. I'll come over, we'll hug it out, and we'll come up with a plan. Is that okay with you? Oh, yeah, that's great. Good. And then I explain, this is how I'm going to stay in touch with you. This is how you're going to find out what's going on. But then I actually do the work. See, we live in a business that allows us the luxury of using the business we have already to go out and get more business. So that's why like circle prospecting is paramount. If you're not going to make the calls to do the lead gen, you need to go knock on the doors. Do that in the neighborhoods you just closed business in. Hey, I just closed escrow on a house down the street from you. I know there's lots of demand here. Who do you know that might be thinking about making a move in the next 6 months? Because I could probably get their house sold and they wouldn't even have to be an MLS. Really? Yeah. All those showings and everything out the window. You whatever you say. If it was your listing, you had 4 or 5 offers, bring copies of each front page and write rejected over the front of it. And stand there and show them, listen, I got 5 rejected offers. The seller could only accept one. There's 5 people who want to live over here. That's new people you're lead generating to. And you will find people say, I'm interested, or you know what, I'm not ready to do something now, but we're going to be moving at the end of the year. Mind if I stay in touch? And then when the time's ready, the idea here is now you're scheduled.
Right.
Super important. So to make this work, one, you have to live by the expectation. You have to set the expectation. You have to live by that expectation. The other thing is you need to put things on your schedule that are mandatory without it. Meaning, initially, I started doing this quarterly. I would just look at my schedule quarterly and say, one, what are the days off I'm going to take? So if yours is every Sunday for sure without fail, you need to go in there and mark Sundays off. Just take it off your schedule. Share it with your wife. Let her see your schedule, right? Then if there were days like, say you want to, you got something going on with the kids, or you got a vacation, or you got an event, maybe like your sister's getting married in Kalamazoo, put that stuff on your schedule. Only after you get the things that are important, like your family time, your you time, your things that you can't miss. Like if you were going to mega camp in August, that should be on your schedule already. And when somebody says, well, gosh, you know what? Why are you gone so much? I'm not gone so much. I have a family, I have friends, I have a life. I choose to educate myself. As an example, I'm in Denver, Colorado right now. I've been here all week at a training event. I let my clients know, listen, you're not going to be able to reach me during the day. Just leave a message and I will call you back. And I call them back. And they're appreciative of it. But I live by that schedule. I set the expectation, put all those things on your schedule. Only once you put those things on your schedule, then you add all the things we talked about, the lead gen, the lead follow-up, the pop buys, the chaos, the appointments. If you put the appointments on your schedule, mine just say listing dash TBD, and I just fill them in. And my goal is whatever the number of appointments is that I want, I put that number of appointments on my schedule with a couple extra just in case. Because one week I might have more appointments than others. Like this week, I'm not doing any appointments because I'm here. So
Right.
last week and next week, we'll have more. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
So do
It
you
makes
see
perfect
how
sense.
you could follow this kind of a schedule and keep yourself regimented so it's purposeful?
Yes, absolutely.
So could you commit to this, say, for the next quarter?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to challenge you to do. I'm going to challenge you to listen to your outgoing voice message, make whatever corrections you need to correct there. I'm going to challenge you to set up your autoresponder through your Gmail. I'm going to challenge you then to start working on a schedule. I suggest doing it with paper first, with pencil. Figure out, start looking at what that looks like, and then commit it to your calendar electronically. Then, and I would encourage you to include stuff like date night with your wife. At minimum every other week, preferably once a week. Find a way to spend time just you and she. It could be as simple as I'm committed to you and I sitting down, having a cocktail or two, and playing gin rummy when the kids go to bed. Not work, not talking about anything other than just being a couple. Does that make sense to you? Because I know it
Absolutely.
works wonders for my marriage. And
Yeah.
then you want to put time on there specific with the kids. Now, as your kids get older, one-on-one time may be more and more important, especially as your children start to approach adolescence. Um, but I don't encourage you calling it date night with your kids because that's just creepy.
Yeah.
When I see that, oh, date night, daddy and daughter date night. No, 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 you're not a pedophile. Don't do that. Just one-on-one time, right? So then that's
Yeah.
what I would do. So I'm going to challenge you to start working on that schedule and get me something to see. Let me know when you've changed your out of office message for Gmail, your autoresponder, your outgoing voicemail message, all of those things, so I can just hear what you're saying, give you some suggestions, and keep this ball moving forward. Because as between now and the next 2 weeks, it's going to be trying for you because you are going to get on the wagon, off the wagon, on the wagon, off the wagon. And it's a, Gary says in the one thing, it's a 66 day time frame to build a habit. 66 days. That's an average. That means certain things that are more difficult take longer periods of time. So I'm going to encourage you to find a way to build on this. And we're just going to start small. And then
Yeah.
we're going to build and build. But what you're going to find, if the one thing you commit to absolute without any change are the morning regimen of lead gen, then lead follow up, you just get only those done. You do that for the next 90 days, dude, you'll have more business you know what to do with. But you've got to do it and it's got to be committed.
Yep.
Any questions?
Nope.
I I appreciate you letting me be teacher rather than coach at that time because I think it takes a little bit more of a that kind of mentality.
No, that was great. Do you have the only thing, if we don't have time now, that's fine. But the D2D plus two, that I'm still wrapping my mind around that. If you have
Would
anything
you
you could
do me,
send it
yeah,
to
would
me.
you do me a favor? Yeah, do me a favor if you can. Shoot me off an email telling
Yep.
what you need. And then when I can to do it either later on today after my calls and stuff, I'll get it over to you.
Okay, cool.
Sound good?
Perfect. Thank
And as you're
you.
working through this, don't hesitate to call if you need to talk about it or get a question answered, whatever. I'm here from you. This is not just a every 2 weeks. I think I told you this is an ongoing. So if you need to continue to have more conversation, let me know and we'll keep doing that.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. All right, brother.
Yep.
You have a great
Thank
one.
you. I
All
appreciate
right. We'll
it.
talk to you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yep. Bye-bye.